Reverend Angelo Pizelo.
That's better than last time. How many were here last time I gave a talk? Kim completely forgot I was going to give a talk, and she went directly to the collection. And I kind of thinking, maybe she thinks that we'll do better if they collected before I talked than after. So thank you. Anyway. A lot of rain last night. Kent just informed me that in his house just up the street here, there was 5.2 inches of rain. Isn't that cool? And so I went to bed last night. As I retired, I heard the rain was pouring down. And I have a relationship with Spirit. As you get older, you can do this. And I tend to say yeah and to accept the fact that I'm one with Spirit. So I'm part of the whole plan, right? So are you. And so what I told Spirit before I retired, I said, listen, Spirit, I need a crowd there tomorrow morning. And therefore, if it's pouring rain like this, people might stay home. So you owe me big time. My sister's been a nun for 40 years. So you owe our family some goodies here. And so I want it shine, so the sun's shining and I want a full house. Look at what happens there. This is power. Anyway, yeah, mystics tell us that for us to experience anything but abundance, peace, harmony, and love in our lives, we have to literally work against ourselves. We have to work at it. Because it's a natural phenomena. What I love about this month is it brings us the tools that we need, that really shows us how do we stay connected to that source energy that we call God. And so the themes again this month, and I will remember them, I promise, is flow, patience, and acceptance. Those are magical words. But they're more than that. I've been thinking about it this morning with Sandy. I thought in terms of these are powerful activities in Spirit that helps us ignite and enhance our potential as human beings. And when we put it in place, it helps us in full awareness of experiencing and witnessing the ever-changing dynamics of the human conduct. All of the issues that we go through, the change in attitudes, all the negative experiences, so-called negative experience. It helps us actually understand that, but it helps us do one major thing, and I think we're talking about this month. It helps us to remember the fact that we are a soul. That as we travel this life experience, we are that divine energy that we call God. That we are the conduit of this. That we are a life form of the divine. And so with these three wonderful words of flow and acceptance and patience, when we put those into play, we are that which we should do. And we don't have to worry about trying. It's there for us, almost simultaneously, automatically, when we put those terms into consciousness. So this month what we're going to do, we're going to actually look at the spiritual tools that will help us deal with a conditioned mind that has tremendous influence over our lives. A conditioned mind that focuses so much and brings into our conscious and overloads our conscious with fear, doubt, and anger, and all this negative stuff that will hold us back, that cuts us off from the flow. And there are many instances that we see this happening where we forget, as we are confronted with any life situation, that we are a soul. And when we are confronted with that, we will bring into the dynamics that power. We are empowered then when we change our consciousness as to who and what we are. What is so phenomenal about this is when we are under the control and the dynamics of what we call the conditioned mind, we are literally focusing our lives, and we are in a state of hypnosis. How many of you would agree with that? We're hypnotized. We're hypnotized by what's going on. We're hypnotized by fear, doubt, and all this negative energy that storms into our life experience, preventing us from really experiencing. So when we are confronted with anything, if we are in that situation to where we're so hypnotized by the fear and doubt, where we look at the situation and say, we're controlled and we're under the dominion of what's going on, that we identify with our stuff, then we are hypnotized, and we need to realize that I'm hypnotized and I need to release it. Today we're going to show you a simple word that will get us back in kilter. There's I think there's a story that we can tell you that kind of exemplifies what we're talking about. This guy needed to rise above and go into a higher level of consciousness, and so he heard that there was a wise man in a sanctuary at the top of a hill. Some of you may have heard about this guy. It's famous. And he said, I need to go up there and I need to ask this guy some questions. And he said, but we have one problem though. He said, there's no road up to that sanctuary. I'm going to have to walk up there. And so he packed some lunches and he packed all the goods he needed because he knew it'd take him a long time to get up there. So he parked his car at the bottom of the hill and he went through brush and he had to get on his knees sometimes and crawl under the brush and cross over obstacles. His clothes were torn and it took him 2 weeks to get to the top of the hill. His clothes were torn. He was bruised and battered, and he finally gets up to the top of the hill. And he sees this guy, and he says, "Are you the leader in charge here of the sanctuary? Are you the wise man? Because I've got a lot of questions to ask." And the wise man said, "Yes, I am. But before you go on to your story, I want to give you a suggestion." And he says, "Okay." He said, "Next time you come, if you come again, rather than parking where you did down below, why don't you drive your car around to the other side of the mountain and park at the parking lot that's there at the bottom of the mountain, and then take the tram that will get you up here in 10 to 15 minutes." Now that's a significant story for all of us. We're all there. We face this life experience, all the dynamics of and the drama of the physical. We all go through this. And what are we doing? We're battered and bruised, and we're disconnected from the power that we are. And we finally realize, my gosh, all I need to do is park this consciousness, this negative conditioned mind, this negative stuff. All I need to do is park it in the parking lot. What that means is we need to transcend. If I feel myself battered and bruised in the life experience, what can I do about it? I need to transcend the fact that I'm not under the domain of this stuff. I'm here to witness it. I'm here to enjoy it. Because what this month tells us is that if we're not enjoying the life experience, if we're worried about what's going on, and we can't wait till the day to end, then we're disconnected. And what are we? We are actually in that hypnotic state. We're hypnotized by the stuff that's going on. And we can move beyond it and move forward. What's kind of neat is we might say, okay, Angelo, you're talking about the soul. What is the soul? And what is soul awareness? I have no idea what that means. What does that mean? Well, there's a book called The Untethered Soul by a guy named Michael Singer. Anybody read that book? It's kind of cool. Read it and read it again. I've read it a few times. And this morning as I was sitting at my desk talking to Sandy here, it dawned on me, this is a wonderful book to bring out. And what he calls this idea of soul, he calls it an untethered soul. And that's the name of his book as well. Because it's not bound by anything. It's beyond all limitations. It can't be restricted in any way. It's the power that we have within us right now. It's here with Angelo. It's the same power that we talk from this platform when we are amazed and we read in the Fresno Bee that 5 kids picked up an automobile. People say, oh, that's not possible. Yeah, it is possible. What happened? It was in the fifth page of the Fresno Bee. But these kids literally picked up a car. And they're kids that weighed probably less than 800 pounds. Picked up a 3,000 to 4,000 pound car to allow this man's wife to pull this guy who was stuck underneath it. That's the energy, the source energy that we're talking about today. That is what is with us every moment of the time. We don't need to be under the dynamics and under the control of this experience at all. We're here to enjoy it, to experience it, and to let it pass by and not marry it and take it home. I'm not talking about our families here. But we're here to experience what's going on and not allow it. Now, there are many, many stories that signify, that show what I'm talking about here today. And one of them came to mind this morning is that this 24-year-old firefighter, we see the operation of this dynamic power a lot, particularly during the fire season here. our firemen are out there, they're doing the work. But it's not just the energy that we get from eating foods and then burning calories. No. Singer says that this is a mysterious energy source that's available to us on call. And it's just waiting for us to pull it in action. And we see it by those heroics of people fighting these fires. Do you agree with that? Clap for them as they are there. And what they do, they don't even know. They don't even know that they're doing this. But they're transcending this idea of fear and doubt when they're facing this fire. And they're doing the work. This man, 24 years old, and it was a story in the newspapers in Chicago. And he and several firemen responded to a fire, and it was a fire that was taking place in an apartment complex, and there were several people stuck in that and trapped in this fire. And they came and they got all of the people that were trapped out of the building, or so they thought. And here's this guy Jacob, 24-year-old Jacob. Jacob was there, and he said, we got them all out, and then he hears a scream. My Chris, where's my Chris? Chris was her 7-year-old son. He's not here. He may be still in the building. We're on the bottom floor. He might still be in the building. And so Jacob, now here's the idea of this, all this. You know, when we're confronted with this dynamics of the conditioned mind that says fear and doubt, don't do it. It's an egotistical, I call it an egocentric attitude. I have it myself sometimes. But anyway, he had to transcend that in some way. He had to park the darn thing in the parking lot. And he did. He looked at it, and he could have said, oh, my God, I can't go on. And the whole building was engulfed by flames. When he plugged into that higher circuit of consciousness, magical things happened. It's like those kids who pick up the car. He ran into the building. Through all this flame, and he got to the building. And he literally located this young boy. And he picked him up and carried him out. This is the dynamics that we're talking about. This is what this month is all about. It's the transformation of consciousness. It's the allowing the flow of this tremendous universal energy to come through our life and to get us through the moment. And for him, the story didn't end there, because Chris grew up years later. And this guy Jacob, he got diabetes and he had to have a new kidney. He needed a kidney transplant. Guess what happened? Chris. So I've got 2 kidneys, I want to owe you one. Isn't that cool? And so the universe really expresses itself in many magnificent ways. And what I like about Singer, he tells us how to deal with this. And what's kind of interesting, it's so simple. You might think this is simplistic. If I'm up against it, and I'm facing something that I'm a little fearful of, or that I'm hypnotized by what's going on, how do I immediately go to that higher level of consciousness where it can bring all this dynamic flow of source energy that overrides anything in the physical? How do I do that? And it's interesting. He said, all you need to do is take a deep breath, another deep breath, and welcome it. Hello. Hello, he says. And repeat hello in consciousness. You don't have to say it loud. Hello. Welcoming, and I call it the Singer welcoming address to spirit. And he says it works like a charm. So if I'm against it, up against it, I don't know what to do. Hello. 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 And he says that immediately will switch